Alrighty then, just in case you're really curious, here's what I'm up to. So I've got all my jewels here, and all different types of jewels, and I want to find some dead ones here so I can use them to do a very specific job. This is where I'm going to be taking a jewel setting and trying to modify that jewel setting. So I need to find a jewel that is similar to the one I'm going to be modifying, because I need to practice. So this would be a practice jewel. So when I look at all my jewels here, there's got to be some jewel settings here that I don't care about that I can use to practice on. So I see one down here and I see another one down here. So these two jewels might do the job. This setting, one of these settings, is the one that I had used in the last watch I was working on. This one right here, and this was the old one, the old jewel, the good old jewel. And this one here, I think, is a crappy one, hopefully. So I'm going to look at these jewel settings really close and see if I can use these. But here's the job. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this jewel setting and I'm going to measure. I need a brass rod, because I'm going to take a brass rod and I'm going to stick the jewel on the end of the brass rod. It sounds like one of those games you play. Stick the jewel on the brass rod. So you want to find a brass rod that is smaller than the jewel setting. See if I got one here. This looks pretty close, actually. And I'm going to need to face this off on the lathe. So this is the brass rod. I'm going to get in close here and have a look at this thing, because I need this to be just slightly smaller. If I'm going to work on the setting, I need to be able to get at it and to it and at it. If I can find a brass rod smaller than the setting, but it's got to be able to get stuck up with shellac on the end of this thing. So the first thing I need to do is face this off on a lathe, if this is the one I'm going to use. So let's just assume I'm going to use this one, because it's probably the right width. I'm going to throw this other setting back, because I know this was a sample setting I had from the setting I had from a piece of work I did recently. But I want to use this one. So this is the one I'll use, and let me look at the width of this thing. So let's say theoretically I wanted to take some material off the width. I'd have to stick this on the end, and I'd have to stick it on the end with shellac. So the first thing I'm going to do is face off this piece of metal here. Just for the sake of speed, I'll leave the thing the same length when I put it into the lathe. Now, as you can see down below, I don't have it focused, but I'm going to find a collet for this piece of metal here that fits absolutely perfect. So I open my box of collets down here that are all fuzzy, and I just stick the metal down into the collet and see which one fits the best. You don't want to fit it super tight, but you want it to be snug enough. So a 20 seems to be the right size. As you can see, it goes in here kind of nicely. It's not too tight, but it's going in there nice. Look at those cuticles, look terrible on our camera. To bite those ones off too. So I'll put that in the get that to get inside the lathe. Come on, get in there. Just tighten that up a bit. Now I have a tailstock on right now, so I'll move that out of the way. I got dinner soon. I just asked my wife, how much time do I have? So she said 30 minutes. 5:45. So I have just under 20 minutes to do this. So let me just tighten this up a bit, because I want to face this off. So just tighten that like that, and bring up the tip over tool rest, famous tip over tool rest, and I just put this at a bit of an angle like that. That should be good right there to face that off. I should actually file that first before I bother facing it off, because if I file the end flat first, there's a lot less work on the gravers. So I'll take a file here and file this flat, make some noise for you here while you're watching. I just run my finger down the bottom here so it doesn't slip off. And then I want to face it off, which is flattening it, and I can only do that with a graver. It's funny how when you're filing something and you have your skin down the bottom, it doesn't seem to be burnt or affected by the filing as much as metal is. It's weird. It's very weird. Dump this stuff here and then maybe have a look at what I've done. It's not bad. A little tiny bit more here. And I just have to eyeball this, but keep my finger under here just a bit so the file doesn't slide off. And just file that down like that. Like so. And I can spin this just a bit while I'm filing it here so it'll flatten it a bit more. Like that. There we go. I'll just get the edge of it here. Round the edge just a bit. Round the edge. Now I will get my graver out and I will work the end of this. So back in a second with my graver. Now, I just want to do a shout out to Bori out there because I'm doing this because I want to know how to do it properly when I get to his watch. Because I've got to take just a slight bit of material off one of his jewels and I don't want to screw his watch up, so I want to make sure I'm very good at this by the time I get to his watch, because he's got some nice watches and he told me to take my time, but this is just before supper and Bori, I've got all Christmas break to finish things, but I want to finish it before then, so just see if I can flatten this up a little bit. Might be good enough right there. That's not bad there. Now I want to take a piece of Rodico, my favorite stuff. Rodico is my favorite stuff. Rodico is my friend. I'll take Rodico here, and I want to take this little jewel setting I have. It's the world's smallest jewel setting I have here. And I got to turn that the other way because it's the wrong way. I'm just going to put this down on this table here, and I got to turn that around or pick it up that way. Let me see. Bounce it around until it lands in the right direction. It's hard to show on camera, but I'm just taking this setting and sticking it at the very end of the Rodico, like that. And I just want to have a look and see if this setting fits nicely on the end, because the next job I'm going to do here is try to stick that to the end like that with some. Is that going to be good enough? I'm going to stick that on the end of this. Yeah, with a small bit of shellac. Yeah. Which means I'm going to have to heat this up. Now somebody said you can probably heat this up with a candle as opposed to doing it the way I'm going to do it. Right? I need to apply heat on this here so that that the jewel will stick onto the setting. So that's a lot of reflection on that, isn't there? If I put a little bit of a cloth down there, what's that going to do for me here? It's a bit better, right? And then see if I can zoom in any better than that. Maybe not. I think that was it. That was it, ladies and germs. So somebody said if I apply an iron to the end of that, then that might be a better way of applying the Rodico. But the other thing is, if I cut this back a bit, I can stand this up, put a flake, just a flake of a flake of stuff. I think it's too late. It's a Sunday night, so just a flake of shellac on the end of that, and then that should heat it up enough. Or I'll just flame it and put the shellac on the end that way. So, but the shellac will drip off. So this is tricky stuff. That's all I'm saying. It's tricky stuff. So what I want to do is get that shellac heated on here somehow, right? So let me think of how to do that. Let me think. I'll be right back. All right, here's what I'm going to try doing. This could be a disaster, but I'm going to try it anyway. I've got a little tiny flake of shellac here on the end of my tweezer, just kind of stuck there. And I've got a torch. I'm going to heat up the end of this, and then I'm going to apply the shellac on the end, and then I'm going to try to stick the jewel on, just to get the first adhesion. But I've got to take this cloth off, because if I don't, I'm going to burn the house down. So, and I don't think there's anything I can burn down here that's going to upset me too much. So let's just heat this up a bit. Now I'll put this shellac on here and see if this melts. Should get a bit melty because of the amount of heat I applied. Well, it melted and then it stopped melting. I'm going to have to, I got more shellac, so I'm going to just take another flake of shellac here that I have and try this piece. Break it off so I can try again when I fail. And that melts pretty fast. It actually gets really hard really fast, which I think is kind of cool. So if I take this jewel, I'll heat this up for like a millisecond. And then try to stick the jewel on. Is that going to stick on? It actually heats up fast, but also cools down just as fast. I'm just holding the jewel in place right now. And there we go. So that stayed on, but now it needs to be centered. So see the jewel, you can see the jewel just stuck on the end there. I'm not sure if I can get this any closer, but without burning myself here. There's the jewel on the end. I'm going to move this whole lot inward now, so I'm not sure how hot this is. It's not bad. This is brass, so brass I think just cools down fast. So I'm just going to move this inward a bit. It looks like it's sagged too. After I heated it up, it kind of the shellac kind of went to the bottom. We just tighten that. I'm learning a lot here, folks. Learning a lot. Yeah, I don't know whether this is going to work or not. I need a piece of pegwood, sharpened pegwood, where I can move this downward. See, it just fell right off. Now this jewel is probably going to get stuck to this piece of metal. So we're going to try this again here. I need to get some shellac on the end of this again. May need a little bit more light because I can't see a darn thing. Oh, that's not going to work. Let me see. Let me just get closer with my... looks like there's shellac on there, but I'm going to grab another piece of shellac here, just because I don't mind over shellacking it. I don't want to under shellac it. I'll just use my tweezers and maybe move it inward. Now my tweezers are stuck together. See, they're stuck together with the shellac, so this is, I'm having fun here, folks. I'm having fun. I'm going to unstick my tweezers now somehow. There we go. And now I've got to put this jewel back, stick this jewel back on here somehow. Let's just take the Rodico here and then put that, pick the jewel up again like this with the end of the Rodico. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to heat this up again. And then I'm going to take the jewel and stick it on. Nope, that didn't work. I need to get more shellac on the end here somehow. Gee whiz. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the end here, and it seems to be that the shellac is not staying on. So I'm not sure how this is working, but I think it's almost dinner time, so I think my shellacking days might be over. You grab a little bit more shellac, see if I can do this again. Man, oh man, it's not easy. I have a bag. I think all the shellac fell out of one of my bags and ended up on the bottom of my container here. So I just do that. I've got like tons of shellac. Tons of it. I tell you. I've got 5 minutes left before I'm going to get in trouble. So let me grab the shellac again. And then turn this on. Heat this up on the end. Put it into a nice little ball. And stick the jewel on. Not sure if that jewel is going to stick on here. I think I'm shit out of luck, folks. Maybe I put the jewel, the shellac, onto the jewel first, heat the jewel up. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do here. This is a failure of great consequence, of no consequence. Alright, so there I got a big ball of shellac on the end there. And now I should be able to heat this up. Just stick the jewel onto the end. You think? You think. The problem is every time I heat this up, the shellac goes down to the bottom. So this technique is sucking bad. Yeah, because the shellac is kind of gathering on the bottom here, which doesn't work. Wonder if Rodico burns up. Yeah, I think Rodico catches on fire. So, oh, there we go. Something stuck there. Yeah, there the jewel's stuck on there now, but it's sort of, it's not centered. So now the job is to center the jewel, which means I have to take my thingamajabby doohickey and line it up I think like this, and then you line the top up completely, right? So you pull this up so it's lined with the center, like that, and then you got to kind of spin that while you're heating it and move it down. That's going to be the technique, but I'll do that I think in phase 2 because this is not working that well. So let's cut this off. I'm going to go eat dinner and we'll do this again in phase 2. Alright, here's what I did. I turned the torch on and I took this little metal thing and I put it right on the center and then spun the lathe while I heated this up. And it seems to have stuck the this on here, so the seems to have stuck the jewel setting on enough to be able to see if I can take material off it. So I'm going to just grab a graver here. Grave decisions are going to be made any second now, so I'm going to grab a graver here and see if I can line this up really quickly to set this. Put this down a bit. Just line it up kind of like this. I just want to see if this works. This is like a test. Just a test. Let me just skin this. Get some of the shellac off of this brass bar here. So that jewel setting is sitting right there now, right? So if I try to get in close and shave that jewel setting, I should be able to. So I'm gonna just take a little bit of material off here first, just a tad. Now I gotta put other goggles on here, or glasses on, and I just want to get in really close here to see if I'm able to take any material off this jewel setting. Oh yeah, so there, I can see the jewel setting well now. So if I have this jewel setting like this and I have my graver come in at an angle, let me just move that down a bit and tighten it up. And if I can remove material from that, then I've done the job and it works. And it's working, as you can see. I'm trimming material off the jewel setting right now with a shellacked setting. That's pretty centered. So the trick from the thing I was doing last time was try to get that jewel setting in a condition where I'm just going to just see if I can take a little bit of shellac off so you can see it better. There, that's that there. And that's the jewel setting. And I wanted, before, what I wanted to do is thin the setting down. So I have it like this, and if I just go in at the edge here, and I'm able to thin the setting down. That is very cool. So that worked. I'm going to also take a little bit off the edge of the setting here, like that. Flatten it out a bit. There we go. So that, now that setting has been adapted or changed or whatever. Now what I'm going to do is heat up that shellac again and just remove that setting. It might just drop right off. So I'm just going to do that. And then that's trial number 1. I'm going to do this more than once. There, this is for Bori, as I was saying. So Bori, if you're watching this, I'm not going to bring your setting through this until I become a little bit of an expert on this. So that should just fall off. There's the setting. There's the jewel setting, just fell right off like nobody's business. And that looks like it's narrowed the edge, no problem. So that worked perfectly. So I'm just going to leave this set up like this and try this a few more times. So that's how you basically shellac a jewel setting onto a brass post for doing some work on the edge of that setting, the second seat of that setting. So if you enjoyed the video, I'm going to do some more trials on this. It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky to get the shellac to stick. I think you got to use a lot of it. And actually like I said before, to center it, I use this tool here. And I just took the tool and I stuck it to the center of the jewel while I spun the jewel like that. And it seemed to center it nicely. No problem at all. So a couple more trial runs on this before I go and try to do it for real. So there's the jewel, just fell down again. So there we go. So there we go. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching my video. And I'll see you next time.